Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Defining Dadbod's Transformation Tuesday. It is always my pleasure to bring you guys these episodes of stories that really, I hope, inspire and encourage you guys. And I think the thing that I always want you guys to find out of these is that really that with the right motivation and the right drive, these are things that anybody can do. We all look on Facebook and we all look on Instagram and we see guys doing this kind of stuff and we think, how can it happen? But it does. It takes hard work. It takes effort. It takes accountability. It takes a lot of things. But all of these stories really have the common thread that it's just somebody else who decides that that's a point where they need to make a change. And so we're going to have another story today, and I'm glad to be here with Peter Shuffler, who is going to tell us his story. Peter, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I know that this is going to be a great story. If you would kind of just real quick give yourself an introduction, kind of where you're at, how old you are, married, kids, all those kind of little details, what you do for a living and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually living in Meridian, Idaho. My wife and I have our first daughter. She's about 10 months now. And so we're in that fun stage of she's going everywhere. So, yeah.
Is she sleeping through the night? That is the important question.
She used to, now she's rebelling. So, yeah, it's been fun, to say the least. So,
yeah, I bet. And where are you located at?
I'm in Meridian, Idaho. It's actually about just outside of Boise, our capital.
Okay. Okay. And you've been married for how long?
Oh gosh, we've been married, I have to think now, since it's been that long, since 2008. So
okay.
10, almost 11 years. So
okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, let's just go right ahead and dive into your story a little bit. Kind of always like to start with your younger days when you were a kid, when you were in high school and young adult and kind of things like that. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Were you an active kid? What was nutrition like in your house, and kind of what were the first few steps as far as fitness for you back in those days?
So I mean, I always was the bigger kid. I mean, I wasn't like the kid that sat on the couch all the time. I was semi-active, but maybe not as active as I should have been, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Okay.
But I was always the big kid, which I kind of related to because I saw my family. My whole family's big.
Okay.
I saw from generations on and on and on, we're all big. So I guess to me it was more or less the norm.
Okay.
Nutrition-wise, it wasn't bad. My mom was very good. My mom was a nurse. She would be a balanced meal. This is what I'm going to cook for you. My dad, not so much. My dad was fending for the four of us. My mom's working 12-hour days. It was here's some fried chicken for dinner. Here's burgers for dinner from fast food. Constantly. But then my mom was home. It was something better. But then I got grandparents, and it was oh, here, you want this? I'll give you this. This is all yours. And so always got whatever I want from my grandparents. So kind of a mixture of everything. I guess more bad influence than good, unfortunately.
Was food a struggle for you in any way? I mean, you said it was kind of a generational thing that you were a bigger family. I mean, was food a struggle for you? Were portions a problem for you? What was kind of the crux as you look back on it?
I mean, honestly, just my sister puts it perfectly. Our family has an addiction to food. Bottom line, and it's true. I remember everything my grandfather would make had either lard or oil with it.
Wow.
Everything. It was either deep fried or pan fried or something. Cooked to a crisp, fatty, you name it. And the one thing, my grandparents growing up in the Depression, it was always, here's a big portion. You eat what's on your plate. You don't get to leave until it's clear. We don't care if you like it or not. And I'm like, I'd be there at times like as a kid, I'm full. I don't care. You eat it because I gave it to you. So, portion control definitely was a big thing in my family. And I think as I got older, definitely maybe influenced the way I ate because I didn't know better. And so, it's a habit, you kind of only go with what you learned.
Right. So I always got to ask, and it's kind of a fun question, biggest vices or comfort foods that were your memories from kids?
Oh God, my dad would take us down to the local liquor. We called the liquor store in California where I grew up. Because what it was the 7-Eleven or the Circle K or whatever.
Okay.
And once a week, it was you can get 2 food items and an icy, biggest icy you can get. So we would get nachos and chips, and I mean once a week, and we just pig out, and that was dinner, and that was a big vice because it was comfort food.
Right.
Felt good. It was
Right.
horrible for me,
Yeah.
but it was it was a treat because my dad's taking us to go get snack food. This is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I look back at it now and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was horrible.
So
What
not
were they?
only was it a situation where there was addiction almost, it sounds like it was like a reward system as well. It's like for, if you do this well or you do that well, or we're going to do something special, we're going to go out to eat to 7-Eleven, go grab some food at 7-Eleven or something like that. Was there a lot of that too?
Oh yeah, absolutely, all the time,
Yeah.
all the time, and it was, it was bad. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I love my parents, but it was a bad thing. So,
Mhm.
but
And so, you said you weren't as active as you probably should have been. Were you involved in sports in school, or what was the level of activity that you had?
I would try to do sports, and then I was that kid when it just became too hard.
Mhm.
I'd quit
Yeah.
and be flat out honest. It would get too hard, and I'd be like, I'm done. I could quit. This is too hard for me. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I did soccer, baseball, and it would get too hard because it was hard work,
Right.
and then I would quit. And my parents
Yeah.
would be like, well, we're not going to force you to do it, but you really should reconsider. My mom, especially, you really should reconsider it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, I'd make up some stupid excuse to not want to do it.
Yeah.
So, that's definitely played a lot.
Was it something that caused a lot of struggle as far as self-image or, self-confidence for you with
Oh,
kids your
absolutely.
age?
Oh, absolutely. I remember one of the things, I mean, I grew up in a small little town in California, and I remember one of the things that always used to get say to me as a kid was, I mean, it's horrible what kids can say, but they would say, Peter, Peter, pumpkin eater, had a wife, and then he ate her. And
Mm.
it was constant all through elementary school and junior high school, and I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
As a kid, you think too much about it, and then, it's like, oh, words don't hurt, but really, as I
Yeah.
got older, like this took effect on me for sure, you
Yeah.
know, because I
Yeah.
was the bigger kid in the class. I was always the bigger kid, the fat kid, whatever you say. And so I
Yeah.
think when I did all these sports, I'd see these kids my age that were more in shape than I would, could run faster than I could do something better than I could, and definitely was a self-image concern because I
Uh-huh.
wasn't as good as them, and it made me feel inadequate.
Right. Right.
So
So that probably carried on what, through high school, I would presume, the way you're talking?
yeah, we went. I mean, when I left high school, or when my parents moved right before I started high school, we moved to a new area, and I joined into the marching band, which was my PE everything, which really kind of helped me helped me lose a little bit more weight I put on as a preteen, I guess is a good way of putting it,
Mm-hmm.
because, I was very active. We were running all the time, doing a lot of stuff. And if you've ever wanted to wear one of those outfits, they weigh about 15 pounds of wool, so they do weigh you down. They're heavy.
I
So,
remember, I can relate to that. Oh my word. Yeah. I don't know if
yeah.
they've gotten any better. I'm probably older than you, but yes, I certainly remember it seemed like wool was the required material for any marching
Oh,
band.
yeah. Oh,
Of course,
absolutely. It's
you
like,
never wore it.
okay, we're out in the hot and you're sent to the wool. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
No,
always great
it
to
was,
march in a parade in the summer in your wool band uniform. That was always a joy. Yeah.
oh, yeah. It was fantastic, right? It's like, oh, that's great. On top of that, don't sweat too much. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, but yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say, I mean, I was still bigger, but it still helped me out. But probably
Sure.
didn't have a great influence of my high school didn't have a great food program. I remember always it was or Kentucky Fried Chicken that they would serve at little carts and everything. It's like, oh, I go to get whatever I want. And then
Mhm.
when I I was dating my wife back in high school. We'd go out to eat all the time, because like, whatever, I'm young, I'll eat whatever I want. I don't know better. So I wouldn't say, I mean, yeah, I think right after high school is when I really started seeing myself kind of hitting where I really hit my biggest point
Uh-huh.
for sure.
Was
So
there a specific point in time where it kind of hit you hard, or was it just a general realization, or how did it come about that you realized that you were headed down a tough path?
I think about when I turned 25, and I remember just my back was killing me one day, and I'm like, so I always looked at myself, I'm like, oh, I've always been bigger. I'm not that big. And then I just remember my back was killing me. And I remember one time I had to go buy new shirts for work or something. And I remember going out, and I always wore a large or an extra large as a kid. But when I bought these shirts, they were 2 and 3X, and that was the only thing that fit me. And I sat there and looked at myself. I'm like, there's no way I'm that big. I kept having back pain and other things. So I went to my doctor, and that's probably the first time I stepped on a scale in 10, 15 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that number, I didn't know. I kind of went into like a silent little depression right there. And then everyone's like,
Yeah.
I just remember my wife standing next to me. You okay? I was like, I didn't think I was that big.
Yeah.
It was
How big was it?
itching. I think I'm trying to, it was like 293.
Okay.
And I'm a short dude. I'm only
I was
5'8".
I was just going to ask you how tall you're 5'8"?
I'm 5'8". So I'm a short
Okay.
little guy.
Yeah.
You know, almost 300 pounds is a lot
Yeah.
on me. So it was, but I just remember seeing that number and just my heart sank.
Yeah.
And
And
I
how
went,
many years ago was this?
about 6 years ago.
Okay.
I just, so I just decided, I'm like, you know what? It kind of freaked me out too, as I was, the doctor's like, well, we're going to run blood work. And I come back with the blood results. He's like, well, you have this and 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 this. And I'm like, do I have anything good going for me at this point or what, man?
What were some of the diagnoses that you had?
Well, he had me go for a sleep study. So I had a severe obstructive sleep apnea. So they did the test on me, and they're like, my sleep doctor is like, on average, you stop breathing about 75% of the night.
Wow.
I was like, what? She's like, yeah. I was like, wow. Other things were diabetes and high cholesterol and high blood pressure and high sugars. And it was just on and on and on. And he was just going down this list of everything. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what the heck? What do I do?
Yeah.
And, the first thing they say, here's this medicine to do this. Here's this medicine to do this. Here's this medicine to do this. And I think about it, an average probably I think I was about 8 medicines at that point, all just prescriptions to fix everything. And it wasn't really fixing anything.
Right.
And I decided to look into personal trainers, Weight Watchers, all of that.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I'm curious to know, because and we hear a variety of stories from healthcare, and I'm not here to bash the healthcare system, but the doc gave you the medicines. Did he talk to you about any, weight loss or diet or anything like that? I mean, did he give you those kind of options as well?
He said you need to. He said this is just to help get it down because your levels are so high.
Okay.
But he's like, you need to his exact words are, you need to lose some weight. He's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it to you. You need to lose a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know it's not going to be easy. And I was like, yeah, you say that again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was, every time I saw him, you lost 5 pounds. I was seeing him on average every 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
And on average, 5 pounds, maybe put on a couple pounds and then lose another 5 and put on a couple, like here and there. And he's just like, why are you dipping back and forth? And
yeah. So what were you doing at the beginning that you couldn't really kickstart things? What were you trying out?
So I started slowly going to the gym. I started up a gym membership. I started going to the gym and going there, and I just not knowing what to do. So I hired a personal trainer, and the first personal trainer I had, and he kind of, but to put it honestly, he always had this issue with me being big and obsessing really, really big. I understand that I'm hiring you, buddy, to help me. Yeah. What do I do? And I just, and it was always a constant, you're just really big. Yes, I get that.
So he told you
I understand that. Oh yeah, multiple times.
Wow.
And I was just like, so I felt uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
So I fired him and then started doing some stuff here and there, and a little bit of eating habits changed here and there. Slow, like I'd be like, we would cut out a lot of eating out, lots of fast food, things like that. But you would still go, oh man, I'm craving. I'm just going to do it. Whatever. It's one day, right? And then you sit there and think that one day, look what I just ate like 3 meals worth of meals in one meal because I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, it's just one day. It's just one day. But also that comes with mindset growing up.
Right.
Oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's food. You should be grateful that you have food.
Right.
And I just kind of had to get out of that mindset
Mm-hmm.
to make yourself feel that, yeah, you need the food, but you need to look at the right foods,
Okay.
the right amount of food, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
yeah, definitely,
where did
the
you
bigger
find
you
that?
are, the harder.
Where did you find that information? And what did you eventually decide to do?
I just kind of started researching my own stuff. And then I hired another personal trainer about a year after I bought my first one. He had his
Mm-hmm.
own private gym, and he was willing to work with me one-on-one. He was an awesome guy, really
Yeah.
awesome. He worked, he catered stuff to me, and he said, yeah, you're big, but I'm going to help you there. And yeah, it was getting to the point where I was starting to finally lose some weight. He helped me out with a meal plan and he's like, I'm not going to do supplements. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give you a meal plan, try and stick to it. I can do that, but it wasn't enough for me because I was losing the weight finally that I needed to, but I was still on all these medicines
Yeah.
for all this stuff. I'm sitting here going, I'm doing all this. I'm losing all this weight. Why am I still on all these 8 meds? Why am I still having diabetes? Why am I still having high cholesterol? I don't get what I'm doing, what else I can do. And the doctor's like, he asked me, give me a food journal of your last 30 days. I did. And he's like, he couldn't even figure it out really.
Mm.
And I think about that time I was 29 about that time. And I just started my current job where I'm at now, which is in healthcare, ironically. So,
Yeah.
and that's kind of when I decided to go the path I decided to take. So I was just at
Okay.
that point, I'm like, you know what? I've done everything else. What do I got to lose?
Yeah. And
So
that's right. Yeah. So you've gone through like what, a year or so of dieting by this time, a year or so, or more of exercise and
I
diet.
think it was more like 3 years of diet exercise. I did Weight Watchers. I did Nutrisystem. I did not Jenny Craig, but I did others like keto diets. I did full-time exercising, all this stuff. And it was just, yeah, I was getting weight results, but I wasn't getting the health results I wanted
Right.
and that I needed to see to make myself a healthier person.
Yeah.
And so I started at my job, and then I heard about this great guy that just got hired on. He's weight loss surgeon, he's got great reviews. I'm like, okay, well, only thing I've ever known about weight loss surgery is what you see on TV.
Right.
Oh, I live in Texas, and this guy who gives me free surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, well, so I was skeptical about it. It took me a good 6 months to finally go, okay, I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to go to a seminar. I'm going to go talk to him and make an appointment and see what happens. Because at that point, my wife looked at me and said, look, you're really young. You're under 30. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
And she said, just do me the favor and at least go talk to him. If you're not comfortable, then at least you could say you did it.
Yeah.
I talked, and I just remember the first thing he asked me was, okay, what is your eating habits like? All right, perfect. What have you done? So I told him everything I've done. And he said, okay, so why do you not think they were successful? And I told him the truth. Sometimes I would just quit because I wasn't seeing the results I wanted. But now I've been doing something for, at this point, like consistently a year. I'm seeing some results, but I'm still on all these medicines and I still have all these health issues. And he went, okay. So he's like, it's not that you're giving up. You just need the extra help. Exactly. That's exactly what I need. And then he turned into, well, let's talk about your family history. He wanted to know everything about my family. So as I said in the beginning, everybody in my family's big. I told him my mother's obese. My grandmother died of morbid obesity. Her mother died of morbid obesity. Her father died of morbid obesity. I mean, my whole family was huge. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah.
And he never have ever heard of anybody in the world say this was, oh, you come from a long line of genes that are fat. It happens.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's like, you wouldn't expect this out of a guy who's 6'4", skinny as a rail. And I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. This guy's, I'm a joke, right?
Yeah.
But he was actually really open and honest and was willing to help me. And he's like, you know what? We can do it, but you have to do the work. This is all you. I'm here to give you the tools. You're the one who needs initiative. So I decided to take that journey down weight loss surgery, which started out with having to change pretty much everything in my diet. He's like, you're not going to be successful if you don't start changing the diet now. Cut out your carbs. He's like, you have some carbs, but you got to substitute carbs and cut out, the fast food, all this. He's like, you got to learn how to eat as that had surgery before your surgery. Otherwise, you're never going to be successful at it.
So what?
And that was a big turning at that point.
So what requirements did you have as far as eating that you were working on before you even had the weight loss surgery? And just to ask, and before you answer that question, let me ask you, give me specifically what kind of surgery were you talking about?
So I had gastric sleeve. So what they do is he laparoscopically removes 80% of your stomach. So your stomach's still there. Without anything, but it shrinks your stomach down to the size of about a banana.
Okay.
And so it just, you can still, everybody has different effects, but it does, it fills you up quicker, but you have to really still kind of watch what you're eating and your portion control for sure, but it doesn't, everything's still there. He just kind of shrinks it down. So you're sitting there going, okay, I'm fuller quicker with what I can eat. So
Okay.
things he told me you have to search around is, he gave me an example. He drew out a plate and he said, about this much needs to be he gets a small, he's like, this much has to be protein.
Mm-hmm.
Always eat your protein first.
Okay.
Other thing you need to do, if you want a carb, not much more than like maybe a side, this much. It's the amount. And then you gotta have some sort of veggie, little bit amount, but mostly your protein. That you need to eat your protein first and get full off of that. The big thing that I had to overcome with the big surgery, and a lot of people don't realize it, that he pointed out to me though, was you don't drink anything while you're eating, because then it moves it through faster.
Okay.
So, and I asked him, I was like, why? And he's like, well, when your stomach's smaller after the surgery, if you're drinking water or whatever afterwards, it's going to push it through the stomach, so you're going to wind up eating more. And then it's just going to have a reverse effect. So you need to stop, because, out of habit, I would drink water or milk or whatever when I'm eating dinner. So that was a hard thing to stop.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, you don't subconsciously realize that you're subconsciously grabbing your water while you're drinking and eating.
Right.
You don't realize that. My wife finally would have to take my cup off the table, put it far into the kitchen, and be like, eat your dinner and wait. And I'm going to set a timer at 30 minutes. And when you're done, you can have your water.
Wow.
And it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough. But you condition. And when I started doing that right after my first appointment, my second appointment a month later, he's like, so did you try that? And then looked at him, like, that's the hardest freaking thing I've ever done in my life. Not to drink something you eat. You think it is, but try it. It is hard.
Oh, sure.
You don't think, you really don't think about that.
Yeah. Well, you think about the fact,
and it's small things like that you don't think.
Yeah. You think about the fact that when you go out to eat, what is the first thing that happens? They ask you what you want to drink. And that's the first thing that comes to the table, is even if it's just water, it's the first thing that comes to the table. So by the time you've got your meal, probably average people are going through half to a full glass of whatever before the meals even come. So, and that doesn't include anything that's going on during the meal. So yeah, I can see that that's a real challenge.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how long did you go through all of these change of habits before you had the surgery?
About 6 months as I went through before he had me surgery.
Wow.
Because he wanted to make sure mentality-wise I could do it. Because that was his big thing. He's like, you got it. A lot of the steps that I didn't even realize was part of it. To do that, I had to go through 6 months of seeing him, had to do a psychiatric evaluation, and I had to see a dietitian. Just little things you hit, and then I had to go to support group. And I remember his support groups. He had some people who had surgery ready, and had some people who weren't. And I could sit there and just hearing some other people's stories. I'm sitting there going, I can kind of relate, and I can't kind of relate. I don't know why you would say like that. I remember one guy, he wanted the surgery just because he said, I don't like working out, and I can't do this, and I'm diabetic now. And we're like, okay. So he was asking, well, what's like in your daily habit? And he said, oh, I drink energy drinks all day. I'm sitting there thinking, that's horrible for you.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that's the only way I can keep my blood sugars going. And then I get cranky with that caffeine, and I'm like, wow, I kind of relate to that guy, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you really need to make a step on a change to actually be able to accept the change.
Yeah.
And I just was shocked by that. But
Did he
you hear different people's stories, and I know.
Yeah. Do you think he got the concept at all?
He got rejected. I found out he got rejected out of the program. He was told, you know what, until you can change, I'm not going to operate on you. I'm sorry. Because he's like, I'm not going to, I'm sorry, I'm not going to put my name out there.
Yeah.
And I could see that. Yeah, he could do this, but it's not a miracle pill.
Right.
And it's tough.
Right.
And I remember, the leading up to it was definitely tough. You think, I remember grabbing a big plate. I was on a smaller plate. That was one thing else tried to tell me. Pick a smaller plate and a smaller fork and knife. The smaller your utensils and the smaller your vessel are, the less you're prone to eat. And it's true.
Wow.
And I tried it and I went, actually, that doesn't, because when you think about it, you see a big plate, you fill up. And there's empty spots in it. And, you're like, oh, I can put a little bit more. I don't have enough yet. The smaller plate, okay, I have plenty now. I'm good.
Yeah.
And a smaller fork means less bites, smaller bites.
Right.
So it really does actually more or less seem more like a psychological thing to be able to get to where you need to get with it.
Mm-hmm. So you did the prep, you did the eating prep for 6 months. What was the surgery like and the recovery immediately after the surgery like?
Day of surgery, I was nervous as hell.
Yeah.
But I was happy. I work for the hospital. I know my staff, they're great.
Yeah.
I get in there and I remember waking up out of anesthesia and I had the biggest headache and I just thought to myself, what the hell did I do to myself? It hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurt like hell. And the only thing you can eat in the beginning is broth, sugar-free Jello, and Crystal Light, and that's it.
Wow.
Oh, and protein
how long was
shakes.
that for?
3.5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And you talk about, I'll never forget when I woke up, I was like, I'm kind of hungry. Like, okay, we'll bring you your broth. And they brought me broth, and I about nastiest tasting crap I've ever had in my life. It literally tasted like they took a cow through the mud and boiled it with the mud on the hoof. It was the nastiest crap. I was like, what the hell? My wife's like, it tastes fine. I'm like, no, it tastes like crap. I just couldn't handle it. I was like, this is nuts. And
so did the surgery change your tastes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Really?
It changed my taste buds a lot on certain things. Like, I didn't think it would. I think, I'm trying to think, I'm not very much I'm more of a savory type of person now. I don't like a whole lot of sweets.
Right.
I can't do a lot of that. So I think that was why that first 3.5 weeks was hard, because everything you eat was sweet. Sugar-free, sugar-free gel, Crystal Light, protein shakes. It was all sweet, and it dry. I don't know if that may have had a residual on it, but I just know I can't. Yeah, sweets, I'd still eat them, small portions, but I don't crave them as much as I used to.
Right.
They're not as flavorful on my palate anymore. Mm-hmm. I like the savory type thing, chicken and things like that, something with nice spice to it. Mm-hmm. Which in the past, I'd be like, hey, candy bar, let's do it. Another one? Sure. Why not? Soda? Heck yeah. And that was that I'll say was a hard one, is giving up soda prior to surgery.
Oh, really?
Because you can't drink it.
Yeah.
Well, he said, because with my stomach, because I looked up the research on it and I looked up how it was, and they literally shrink your stomach down. Well, carbonation blows your stomach back up.
Oh, okay.
So if you drink soda, you're going to have carbonation. It'll blow you. So you can reverse the effects of it.
Oh, wow.
So I said, okay, well, I can give up soda. That's no problem with me. So I did that a lot of I did that a lot of my pre-surgical, and I still don't drink it. I don't think I've had soda in almost 2.5 years now.
Wow.
It was hard, but I did it.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
But
so after the 3.5 weeks of protein shakes, Crystal Light, and sugar-free Jello and broth, what did nutrition look like for you at that point?
Well, then after that, he slowly introduces small things. So after that 3.5 weeks, and you don't think you get so excited, he's like, okay, you can start eating eggs, Greek yogurt, and cheese. You wouldn't think you'd be so excited to eat something as small as egg. I hard-boiled eggs, and I lived on eggs forever, because I was just like, it was something to chew.
Yeah.
It was so lovely.
Yeah.
But yeah, on top of everything else, I had to do that, and then kind of slowly introduce that. And that was for another 3.5 weeks.
Okay.
Then after that, he kind of progresses. He's like, you can go to your normal diet. However, you need to slowly introduce stuff because you can't put yourself into what you call dumping syndrome, which is pretty much your body's trying to reject it one way or another, and it does not feel good. I mean, it's horrible.
Okay.
So I remember the first thing my wife made when I was able to eat real food. She bought something and she put barbecue sauce on it. It was pork. I remember now. It was pork. She put some barbecue sauce on it. And the instant that barbecue, I took a small bite and I was like, oh, this is great. As soon as that barbecue sauce hit my stomach, I immediately went, I just hurt for like a day because of dumping syndrome, because my body was trying to reject what it wasn't used to.
Right.
Sure. So one thing my body I've had to accommodate myself to is I can no longer eat. If anything has sugar in it, if it's a difference of granulated sugar to cane sugar, I cannot eat granulated sugar. My body will reject it 100% of the time. And I can tell the difference. People are like, oh, what's the difference? I'm like, there's a huge difference, which I went in to research it because over here where I live, we have a sugar beet factory, which is what makes granulated sugar out of sugar beets.
Right.
Where cane sugar is natural cane sugar.
Right.
It's a little bit more natural, less processed. So I looked into it and it's like, well, maybe that's the situation. So it's more or less, it was a trial and error for a while. But the nice thing was I was at the same time trying this trial and error, I saw myself losing weight. Finally, I mean, I was always losing the weight, but I lost it a lot quicker than I thought. But it was actually starting to have the results it should have, which was making me healthier.
Right.
Healthier as a person. It made me feel better and happier.
So what was the weight loss like in those first couple of months? I mean, how drastic was it at that point?
So my pant size was a size 40. After a month of surgery, I was down to a size 36 in pants. I had to go buy new pants. And then I think 6 months post-op, I was down to a size 30. I was at a 34, and it kind of slowed down a little bit. And I think right at my year mark is right when I finally kind of just plateaued. So I've lost about 110 pounds at that point.
Okay.
At a year.
Wow.
And it was so funny what people say that like they just see it. If you see old photos of me, you just see somebody's like your face and just dragged it down because I was all here. I was all in here. And the funny thing is everybody can see this part of me, but what they can't see is what I cover up in a shirt.
Sure.
Yeah, I had weight loss surgery. I am not anywhere near a six-pack or model type. There's some skin there. There's, it's all there. And I have to work even harder now to tone that up or do something different with it. Right. It's still there.
Yeah.
That effect of what I did to myself is still there. That's the big thing that a lot of people don't realize either. Is they think, oh, I'm going to have surgery and I'll be skinny. No. I've lost weight. I'm healthy. I have this loose skin all around. As my dad jokingly says, like, oh, it's your man muffin top. I'm like, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So, and it is. It's loose there because but I have noticed it's gone down quite a bit. Yeah. Because of having to continue to go into the gym, toning myself up. I mean, it's not just you have surgery, sit there and lose weight. I had to keep working all of that.
Right.
So.
Right. So let's jump over and talk about that a little bit. I mean, I would presume obviously there was a recovery period where you were very limited in what you could do physically, fitness-wise, after your surgery. What has been your regimen? I mean, what did you take up when you were able to get back to doing something? And what kind of a physical fitness regimen do you have? I mean, diet's a big part of it. And obviously with surgery, it's a huge part of it. But I mean, obviously, just like you said, you've got to engage the fitness and the activity as well. So what were you able to do and what are you doing now?
So right after when I finally, because he said the first 3 weeks after working out at all, he's like, you're sore. At which, realizing 2 days post-op, I went to a grocery store, walked in 10 feet and went, "Suck me wheelchair, I'm going to die," because your stomach's on fire. Right. So after the 3 weeks, I slowly went back in like I was brand new. So I remember getting on a treadmill and walking. I was only on there for maybe 5 minutes, but it was something. Yeah. Because at that point, I mean, I was, it was sweating profusely just because my stomach's going, "What are you doing? Yeah. Knock it off." But I went every day. That first week, 5 minutes on the treadmill. Even if it was 5 or 10 minutes on that treadmill, walking at a slow pace, I did something. then I went up to and then I kept going further and further, longer on the treadmill, longer distances, maybe a slight jog, going quicker.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't probably until about a month and a half afterwards I started going back into more of my weightlifting,
Mm-hmm.
lifting the free weights that I was doing and everything like that, and kind of still sticking with my cardio regimen, but kind of going into something else because I was able to lift. But I had to start out small, just like you're
Mm-hmm.
brand new and a beginner.
Sure.
Yeah, before surgery, I was lifting great. Right after that, I'm like, I got to start at the beginning because if I push myself too hard, I will hurt. And I actually did that one time. I remember, I forgot what I did. I did something, and I just remember afterwards, I'm like, oh, I don't feel that great. And I thought I thought I like damaged my incision or something. And no, but I really hurt my abdominal because
Mm-hmm.
of the scarring where he put the rod,
Wow.
from the surgery. And
Yeah.
I went to go look at him. He's like, well, what'd you do? I was like, oh, I did this. He's like, well, there you go. You push yourself too hard. Don't do it again. You got to go slow. But it's more or less just you got to keep at it.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Even, I just kept telling myself, okay, I'm going to set a goal for this. If I can at least do 75% of what I'm setting to do, I'm okay with that. Don't set myself up for failure, but also don't be mad at the successes I do have.
Right.
So that was
right. And if you're accomplishing, it's almost like if you're accomplishing 100% of what you're setting yourself or setting yourself to do, you're not doing enough. You're not pushing yourself just a little bit more. It's one of those things almost, and I deal with it a lot too. I get people who say, hey, I can't quite do all of this. I have to stop and I take a rest, stuff like that. I'm like, that's perfect. Because if you're blowing through a workout or if you're blowing through a run and it's not hard, you're not improving, and you're not stretching yourself, and you're not challenging yourself, and you're not going to grow or gain anything out of that workout at that point. It's something where you've got to say, yeah, a 75-80%, if I can hit 8 or 9 of these reps out of these 10, I'm doing good. If I'm hitting all 10 for all 3 sets, I got to make the weight better. And that's an important thing to remember.
Exactly.
You're not going in the gym with the idea of doing it all, because you're not pushing yourself hard enough if you are. So that's a really good. Did you at this point go back with a trainer, or were you pretty much working your own stuff at this point, or what were you doing?
I did it all on my own, really.
Okay.
I did a lot of, and ironically, my surgeon worked out at the same gym I did. So he'd see me and come up to me every morning and ask me, well, what are you doing now? Oh, well, what are you doing now? I guess I'm a trainer because he was there watching me, following me around. I'm like, okay, let me do it on my own. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I think, he told me, he's like, I'm really proud of where you're at, because he always told me you're my most interest, because I didn't give up.
Right.
I think, yeah, I was tired. I remember one morning I was there because I'd go really early in the morning because I work early in the morning. I'd go there, work out, and I just remember one time I just kept myself to do something. I was doing, I forgot what it was. But I just remember I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to give up. And this one guy comes, big old buff guy comes in. He's like, holy crap. Oh, that's what it was, planks. He's like, I can't even do a plank that long. I'm like, don't distract doing this. I'm going to keep doing this until I fall. I'm going to figure this out because that's my goal right now. And he's like, more power to you, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like, I always wanted to make sure I push myself, but not to the point where I'm going to regret I did.
Right.
And that, and so that's been a huge part of what I've done.
Yeah.
I use the tool that he gave me to help get to be healthy.
Right.
I mean, it's helped me definitely be a dad. I never would have, I have nieces and nephews, and I remember doing some of the stuff I do with my daughter. I'd be out of breath. I'd be on the floor. All right, give me a minute. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. I could, I definitely, get on the floor there and not feel like I'm in pain.
Mm-hmm.
I can just started crawling, so now I can chase her down the hallway and not be out of breath when I'm on it. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice feeling to be like, I did this so I could have a better life, so I could be that person with my daughter at the same time.
Right. Exactly. I'm curious to know, and it would seem like it would have been kind of a big deal, but when you've got somebody who's really in good shape coming over to you at the gym, and you're sitting there and what was that? I mean, that must have just been like a high moment for the whole thing. It's like, dang, it's like this guy thinks I'm doing a great job. I mean, that must have been really encouraging.
It was. And the ironic thing was I wasn't even looking up. I just was looking down at the ground going, dude, go away. And then when I was done, I looked up and he comes back up to me and I'm sitting there thinking, you? Not anybody
Yeah.
I ever in my life would have ever thought would have even said 2 words to me because of
Yeah.
what I've been through as a kid. Coming up to me and saying something that encouraging, it really lifted my spirits.
Yeah.
Wow. That it did make me feel good to know, wow, I am doing something. I am making a difference. And,
Right.
somebody who I probably would have looked up to because I see the stuff he does is saying,
Right.
wow, I can't even. Good for you.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
cool.
Let me ask you, told us at the beginning that your family had a long history of being
Yeah.
overweight, of being obese. What was their response and what has their reaction and response been? You really being, I'm going to guess, you really being the first one in the family realizing that something had to change. How did that affect your relationship with your family? Because I mean, you talked about at the beginning how so much of what your family life was about was surrounded about food. How did that,
Yeah.
I mean, how has that changed the dynamic and the relationship and things like that?
Yeah, it's been they've been super supportive. Well, most of them have. My mom's side, who's all the bigger ones, have been supportive. My mom actually had to have surgery herself because she is disabled. She walks with a cane, but she was getting bigger and bigger. And my mom's just like me. She would push herself to work out. She was
Hmm.
on her feet all the time as a nurse, and finally just said, I'm going to do this. And
Yeah.
I asked her, I was like, what was your motivation to do this? She said, I saw how successful that you were at it. And if you could persevere through this, I know that I can. So that made me feel really good to know
That's
that my
awesome.
mom looked up to me like that. Because I always
Yeah.
looked up to my mom.
Yeah.
Always. My mom's a hard worker, my mom, all this. And for her to say something like that made me feel like, wow.
Yeah.
I want to let her know, don't do this because of me. You need
Right.
to make your own decision on why you're doing this. She's like, no, I am. But one of the deciding factors is if I know you can do this and you can succeed, I know I'd be just as, she's like, if I can just be even a small percentage just as successful as you are, then I'm doing great.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm really proud of her as well for that because she's gotten
That's
so much
fantastic.
healthier over it.
That's fantastic.
I did have my dad's youngest brother, because unfortunately, he's like the skinniest person on both sides of my family, but he was very judgmental about it at first. He's like, well, you could just do this and this. No, I have done that. Well, you're not trying hard enough. I finally had to sit down with him like, look, I love you, but here's why I'm doing this. And you need to understand, if you don't agree with it, that's fine, but keep your opinion to yourself. You don't know my journey. You don't know my story.
Hmm.
If you want to know, then why don't you ask me instead of just judging me based on what I'm doing? You
Yeah.
don't know that. And that came a lot even with friendships.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I mean, I
and I
have
was going
friends
to
that,
ask. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I had a friend for a few years. I knew him, and we mostly talked online, and I reached out to him. I had weight loss surgery, and he was like, well, that's just the cheater's way out. I was like, you don't even know, you didn't even ask me why, what it was. You just automatically assumed.
Hmm.
And it wasn't really supportive. So it still is, depending on who I talk to. I'm very cautious to say, yeah, I had weight loss surgery because I'm afraid at times, going back to my kids, I'm afraid of that judgment, but it's
Right.
at the same time, you can't judge somebody without knowing their story.
Absolutely.
Ask me my story and I'll tell you what happened.
Hmm.
And then you'll understand, wow, you did do all that. I didn't
Yeah.
walk into some surgeon's office and be like, give me a miracle pill. And I'm still almost 2 years post-op, still working on what I have to do.
Yeah.
Still working on, because it is a lifelong change. It is a lifetime commitment to what you have to do.
Right.
So
Do you find
you
that
got to,
is that one of the kind of the misconception or misperceptions, I'm not sure which is misconceptions, misperceptions of somebody who does it, that they're taking the easy way out?
absolutely. I really do think that, because I mean, I mean, unfortunately, social media is a good thing and can definitely be a horrible thing. And if you read along, I read online, I was reading online about stuff, and my surgeon had his own Facebook page, and I looked it up, and there's people going, "You're not helping these people," just, nothing but judgment on it. And it's, I think at first I was maybe one of those people too, because I didn't want to do it. I kept saying, "Nope, I'm not going to do it."
Yeah.
That's the easy way out. I'm not going to do that, because you would think everybody thinks of that show on TV. I go in there, I get free surgery, and they check my life, and I can just do whatever I want still. And it's, unfortunately, there are those bad people that do follow that, but not every single person that has a surgery is going to be that situation.
Right.
Right. You gotta sit down and ask me my story, and I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked at what you'll find out, is what I always tell people.
Yeah.
It's,
So, I mean, if you were to encounter, and you probably have, I mean, obviously you did with your mom, if you were to encounter other people who were considering this, what would be your advice or advice and warnings that you would give them?
the first thing I would say is ask yourself, why are you deciding to do this?
Mm-hmm.
You need to really think long and hard. Why am I doing this? And you need to make sure it's for the right reasons. Everybody has a different reason of what they believe is right and wrong, but there are also at that time, there is a right and a wrong reason. Like I said, it's not a miracle pill. If you're looking for something to have a miracle pill, this isn't it. You have to work at it.
Yeah.
The other thing I would let people know is be prepared to work the rest of your life at this, and be prepared to make changes. My dad, food is such a social thing that I have to pick and choose what I can do. I mean, I'm still a social person with friends that I go out and do stuff. But if we go to certain places, I'll just choose not to eat, because it's not going to be something that settles well with me, or something I like, that I'm going to agree with, something along those lines. You have to be prepared for those life changes that will come up, and be prepared to be working.
Yeah.
I still have to go to the gym every day to maintain, because like I said, I got loose skin. It ain't going nowhere. And the only way I can fix that, well, a couple ways, but the one way I want to fix it is I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to tone this up.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this better.
Yeah.
And I have been lucky enough that my case has been presented up in a successful way within my own healthcare system that I work for, from my surgeon. It's actually been really successful. He brought my case to a conference locally, because we have this thing we call a health alliance of insurance companies locally, from companies, local companies, and they decide what they want to insure and how much they want to pay and all that. And a lot of these companies were like, we're not going to do weight loss surgery. He took my case to this board and said, look, not everybody's this. We get your misconceptions. We understand. However, look at this case. He didn't give me a name. He just didn't give my name. He just said, look at this case. Look at what he's done. Here he was pre-op. Here he is post-op. Gave him all my stats, gave him the fact within 6 months I was off every single one of my medications, because I dedicated myself to going, okay, now that I can work out easier, do my workout easier without feel like I'm dying, I'm able to get that better and lose the weight more, which helped me get off all my medicines, which helped me get healthy. And he came to me at my office one day and he said, hey, I presented your case up. I said, cool, how was it? He's like, very, very good, actually. He's like, 6 insurance companies locally decided to start supporting the cost of weight loss surgery for patients that are qualified under my program because of your case. And that was tremendous to think, okay, because there are people out there I know that are like me. They've done all this. This is their last resort. They don't know what else to do. And it can help them if they make the dedication to want to do it. So to hear that, it was kind of inspiring to go, wow, something I dedicated myself kind of can help influence other people to make that better decision.
Yeah. Great.
So
any parting words? This has been great. We don't get a lot of people who have gone through this. So, it's really good to hear your story. It's really good to hear. I think, the most important takeaway that I'm taking from it is obviously that this is not this is not the easy way. This is not the way that you go if, because you don't want to do the work. I mean, you've put in more
Yeah.
work and more energy into it than anybody who's gone, the natural way. So, I mean, I commend you for that. I think that's amazing. And how much have you lost total now?
I'm down 112 pounds.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I ask people, I have people go, well, do you have a picture of you from pre-surgery? I'm like, yeah, here's the surgery. I couldn't even believe what I look like. I'm like,
Wow.
my work
Wow.
badge. I have doctors at my work make fun of me because my work badge is from before I had surgery. You need a new work badge. I'm like,
Yeah.
no. And they're like, why? I'm like, that is motivation for me to remember where I was and where I am now.
Exactly.
So until that thing dies, I don't care. I'm going to keep that picture as a reminder of myself. So
fantastic. Well, man, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been a really important one to hear. Like I said, I mean, it takes different ways depending on people's circumstances and depending on people's stories, to get where they are. And I mean, you talked about it earlier on, just the importance of doing this for your family. I mean, that's what we go back to is, this is defining dadbod. And I mean, that's the thing is going back and doing this both, for your kids, for your wife, for your family. You've set the example back the other way in generations before. And I think that's fantastic. So I'm sure that, I'm sure the same will be said for generations to come up. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. It's been a great story, and definitely keep us posted on your progress. I'm sure you've got farther to go that you want to accomplish more, and we'd love to hear how it goes. So thank you so much.
absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.